What would you do if you discovered a ship drifting silently in the vast Atlantic Ocean? Fully intact, cargo untouched, but without a single soul on board. No signs of struggle, no evidence of piracy, and no logical explanation for why the crew vanished. This is not fiction, this is the real-life mystery of the Mary Celeste. The Mary Celeste is one of the most baffling maritime mysteries in history. A ghost ship found abandoned in 1872 with no crew and no clear reason why it had been deserted. To this day, over 150 years later, the case remains unsolved. So, what happened on board the Mary Celeste? Let's go back to the beginning. The Mary Celeste was a 100-foot-long brigantine, built in 1861 in Nova Scotia, Canada, and originally named the Amazon. Over the years it changed hands and name several times, eventually becoming the Mary Celeste. Despite being well built, her career was marred by misfortune, collisions, fires, and the death of her first captain. Sailors began to whisper that she was cursed. In 1872, the Mary Celeste set sail from New York Harbor bound for Genoa, Italy. On board were the ship's captain, Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, and a crew of 7. The cargo? 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol. The ship was in good condition, the weather fair, and the journey should have been uneventful. But about a month later, on December 5, 1872, another ship, the DEI Gracia, spotted the Mary Celeste drifting aimlessly in the Atlantic, near the Azores. When the DEI Gracia crew boarded her, they found the ship eerily deserted. The lifeboat was missing, but the hull was intact, the sails partially set, and the cargo virtually untouched. Even the crew's belongings, including valuables, remained on board. There was no sign of violence, no blood, no struggle, no distress signals. The last entry in the ship's logbook was dated 10 days earlier and gave no hint of trouble. So where had everyone gone? Captain Briggs was known as a devout Christian, a teetotaler, and an experienced mariner. His crew was carefully selected and included seasoned sailors. No one aboard had a reputation for mutiny or instability. Theories quickly began to circulate. So one popular theory suggested a mutiny, but there was just no evidence of a fight, and the crew's possessions were, untouched. Why would mutineers abandon a perfectly good ship? Another theory blamed pirates. But again, nothing was stolen, not even the valuable cargo or personal items. Could it have been an attack by a sea monster or maybe even a giant squid? This theory became pretty popular in pulp fiction and later horror stories, but honestly, there is no scientific evidence to support it. Some people believed the crew may have panicked over a potential explosion. Since the ship carried industrial alcohol, and some barrels were later found to be empty, it's been suggested that fumes leaked into the hold. Captain Briggs, fearing an explosion, might have ordered everyone into the lifeboat temporarily, only for the rope to snap, leaving them adrift while the Mary Celeste sailed away unmanned. There's also the possibility of a waterspout, essentially a tornado at sea. A waterspout could have caused sudden chaos on deck, damaging the rigging and frightening the crew into abandoning ship. But again, the Mary Celeste was found in relatively good condition, making this theory, well, kind of questionable. One of the more controversial theories involves insurance fraud. Some speculate that the cargo was part of a staged disappearance to claim insurance money. But this falls apart quickly. Captain Briggs had invested heavily in the journey, and the cargo was insured for far less than its actual value. A more supernatural explanation says the ship was cursed, doomed from the moment it was renamed. Maritime tradition considers renaming a ship bad luck unless a special ceremony is performed, and some believe the Mary Celeste was never properly rechristened. But superstition, while intriguing, doesn't provide solid answers. Inquiries were held in Gibraltar, where the DEI Gracia had brought the ship. The British Vice Admiralty Court suspected foul play at first, especially because the crew of the DEI Gracia stood to receive salvage money. But after a lengthy investigation, no wrongdoing was found. The court eventually paid the salvagers only a fraction of what they expected, perhaps still uneasy with the unresolved mystery. Over the years, many writers, researchers, and historians have tried to piece together the puzzle. Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes, wrote a fictionalized account of the Mary Celeste under a different name, making it one of the most legendary ghost ship stories ever told. Even today, new theories continue to surface, from rogue waves and methane gas eruptions to, alien abduction and time warps. None have been proven. The Mary Celeste herself continued to sail for many years after the incident but was eventually wrecked in 1885 during an attempted insurance scam. She lies at the bottom of the sea, near Haiti. And yet, her story lives on. What makes the Mary Celeste mystery so compelling is not just the disappearance but the total lack of clues. It was as if the people on board simply vanished into thin air. No message in a bottle, no survivor, no lifeboat ever found. A ship with no crew, no crime, and no clear reason for being abandoned. Was it fear, a terrible accident, a miscalculation, or something else entirely? Perhaps we will never know what happened aboard the Mary Celeste. But her ghostly voyage continues to haunt the imagination of sailors, historians, and storytellers around the world. One thing is certain, somewhere on the vast ocean in the space between fact and legend, the Mary Celeste still sails, in our collective curiosity.